The void of the Zyran cluster was silent, oppressive, and infinite. Stars hung like shards of shattered glass in the darkness, glinting faintly off jagged asteroid belts that drifted aimlessly in the cold vacuum. Then, almost imperceptibly, a human ship appeared, a sleek, solitary silhouette cutting across the darkness. It was an impossibility. Humanity had been declared extinct centuries ago, erased from galactic memory. Yet here it was, gliding calmly, undeterred, toward the heart of alien territory. Across the cluster, alien warships trembled in alarm. Their sensors screamed warnings in shrill, synthetic tones. "Unknown vessel detected. Signature. Human class. Impossible." Officers barked orders that were already too late. Panic spread through the bridges of alien fleets as commanders struggled to reconcile centuries of history with the stark reality before them. On one of the largest Zyran cruisers, Admiral Killer slammed his clawed hands on the console. "It cannot be! Deploy interceptors! Engage weapons! Stop it!" His voice trembled, a rare crack in the steel-like confidence that had ruled his fleets for decades. But the human ship did not flinch. No evasive maneuvers, no weapon fire, no hesitation. It simply glided forward, a solitary shadow threading between jagged asteroids, weaving in ways no alien pilot could predict. Its hull, polished and black, reflected the starlight like a phantom, gliding through the void. From the alien perspective, it seemed to move with intent, almost sentient. Each calculation, each evasive turn, left their interceptors in dust trails of twisted metal and ruptured engines. Missiles fizzled mid-flight, destroyed by electromagnetic pulses that emanated silently from the human craft. Every attempted strike failed. Every ambush collapsed. Aboard the human ship, there was no panic, no shouting, only calm. The pilot sat alone in a cockpit that was almost bare, hands moving with precision over simple utilitarian controls. Every action was deliberate, every movement efficient. There was no arrogance, no rage, only focus and an unspoken knowledge that the universe had always underestimated humans. On the bridge of the nearest Zyran warship, officers turned pale as their screens flickered. The human was inside their range, inside their formation, and yet, inexplicably, untouched. "It's moving through us," whispered one officer, voice trembling. "It's like it's part of the stars themselves." And in a way, it was. The human piloted not with technology alone, but with instinct, intuition, and audacity. Patterns that no alien computer could predict unfolded with effortless grace. The ship darted through asteroid belts as jagged rocks exploded around it, spinning debris tearing apart pursuing craft. Flames licked the vacuum as hulls ruptured, and yet the human ship emerged unscathed, ghost-like, continuing its unbroken course. For Admiral Killer, disbelief turned to terror. "Deploy the entire fleet," he roared. But fear had already spread faster than orders could be executed. Alien commanders hesitated. Hesitation in battle was death, and the humans seemed to sense it. Even in the emptiness of space, the human made a statement. One being alone could challenge entire civilizations. One mind, unbound by fear or convention, could move where fleets could not. One human, walking, or in this case flying, alone, could sow chaos without a single shot fired. As the human ship drifted ever closer to the central systems, a cold realization settled over the Zyran fleets. They had been warned centuries ago about the humans' ingenuity, their resilience, their refusal to bow. They had forgotten, and now the galaxy was about to remember. The stars shimmered, distant and indifferent witnesses to a solitary human, threading through impossible odds. For the Zyrans and every alien that watched, The lesson was terrifyingly clear. Underestimating humanity was no longer a mistake they could survive, and the human walked alone, unchallenged, unstoppable. The human ship slipped through the asteroid belt like a shadow, disappearing from Zyran sensors as if it had never existed. But one small scouting squadron, sent to intercept the anomaly, managed to trace faint energy signatures to a desolate, cratered moon on the edge of the cluster. It was barren, windswept, and lifeless, or so they thought. The aliens touched down in unison, their vehicles kicking up clouds of gray dust that swirled in the weak gravity. The moon's surface was jagged, littered with sharp rock formations and gaping chasms that the human could easily exploit. They moved cautiously, weapons raised, expecting resistance. But the human was nowhere in sight. Then it began. A distant vibration ran across the ground. A rock exploded in a cloud of debris, narrowly missing a scout. The squadron froze as more rocks and boulders erupted around them. The human's presence was revealed not by sight, but by instinct and cunning. One by one, their vehicles toppled into sinkholes, shredded by hidden spikes or trapped in collapsing crevices. Every trap seemed improvised, yet perfectly calculated. From the perspective of the alien scouts, it was chaos incarnate. Their sensors went haywire, systems overloaded by subtle electromagnetic pulses that originated from nowhere visible. One officer swore he saw the ship's silhouette flit across a cliff face before vanishing again. Others heard whispers, imagined or not, that echoed across the barren landscape. Fear, primal and unshakable, began to creep in. The human moved like a phantom, never caught, never revealed. He used the environment itself as a weapon. Jagged rocks became projectiles, dust clouds masked sudden appearances, and hidden crevices became deadly traps. Every alien maneuver was anticipated, yet he never lingered long enough to be seen. His calm precision stood in stark contrast to the panic-stricken scouts. One vehicle tried to fire, aiming at the faint glimmer of movement. The shot ricocheted off an asteroid as though the human had moved impossibly fast. Another scout skidded across the moon's surface, narrowly avoiding a collapsing crater, only to crash into a rock formation moments later. Within minutes, the squadron was reduced to half its numbers, not by superior firepower, but by unpredictability and relentless human ingenuity. From orbit, the human ship watched silently, engines off, blending into the shadows of craters and rock spires. The aliens could not comprehend how one human could outmaneuver so many. The more they tried to coordinate, the more their formation collapsed into chaos. "Impossible," muttered Lieutenant Vark, one of the surviving scouts. It's everywhere at once. It's thinking faster than us." His words hung in the air as dust and debris continued to scatter across the gray moon. Even as the aliens regrouped, fear had already taken root. They were trained killers, bred for war and conquest, but instinct told them they were hopelessly outmatched. The human was not just fighting, he was dictating the terms of battle without ever revealing himself. Each failed strike, each destroyed vehicle only amplified the legend forming in real time. By the time the surviving scouts limped back to their fleet, they carried a single chilling message. One human, alone, unstoppable. The Zyran commanders would not dismiss it this time. Tales of human audacity, once relegated to myth, were now proven. The galaxy would never again take humanity lightly. And as for the human, he simply watched from the shadows, alone, unbroken, unflinching. He did not celebrate victories or tally kills. Each encounter was a lesson, each trap a demonstration of one fundamental truth. Humans were more than weapons or ships. They were minds that refused to yield, courage that defied fear, and strategy that turned the impossible into inevitability. On that barren moon, the human left nothing behind but silence and a galaxy-wide warning. The aliens had underestimated him, and the consequences were only beginning. One being, alone, had already proven the first lesson: never, ever misjudge a human. The alien delegation had convened in the heart of their largest warship, an enormous fortress of steel and glowing circuitry that dwarfed the human ship in size. Commander Valar paced across the bridge, claws tapping against polished floors, as alarms blared a warning about an approaching vessel. But this time, it wasn't a fleet. It was just one human. "They're coming," whispered Valar, voice trembling in a way unbefitting a commander of his rank. "Just one." The human descended through the warship's outer defenses as if gravity itself had no claim on him. Security drones swiveled in panic, but he ignored them. He carried no weapons, no armor, nothing but his calm, measured stride. Every eye turned toward him, alien bodies frozen in disbelief. The corridors were bathed in red emergency lights, casting long shadows that stretched like claws across the walls. The air smelled of ozone and tension, yet the human moved steadily, almost leisurely, as if he owned the place. For a moment, even time seemed to hesitate. Valar motioned for his guards to intercept. "Do not allow him to reach the control chamber," he hissed. But his officers hesitated. Their scanners reported the human's position with precision, yet every attempt to trap him failed. Doors sealed behind him only to be bypassed in a way that made no mechanical sense. Magnetic locks dissolved, cameras failed. His very presence seemed to corrupt the alien systems. Finally, the human reached the bridge. One step, 2 steps. And suddenly, the entire warship went silent. Lights flickered, engines shuddered, the weapons systems, glowing and primed for annihilation, went dark. Alien officers scrambled at consoles that no longer responded. Panic clawed through them in waves. Valar stared, disbelief etched into every line of his face. How is this possible?" he demanded, voice cracking. "He has no weapons. He has no fleet. Nothing." The human spoke only once, a single sentence delivered in perfect alien. "You've forgotten humans are not measured by their numbers or weapons. We are measured by what we refuse to accept: fear, submission, impossibility." And then the systems collapsed completely. The delegation's communications were severed. Weapons fired erratically, turning inward and striking empty space. Panic erupted. Officers dove for cover, terrified by the ghostly power that seemed to emanate from one solitary human. Valar realized too late that this was no ordinary encounter. This was not a battle. This was a demonstration. Every alien, from the lowest technician to the highest commander, now understood the truth. Underestimating humans was a fatal mistake. The human moved silently among them, inspecting the consoles, his fingers tracing the edges of alien technology. No one dared touch him. Every attempt to capture or stop him failed before it began. He did not destroy the ship out of hatred. He destroyed it with precision, turning alien ingenuity against itself. Systems overloaded, engines failed, shields flickered. By the time the delegation understood what was happening, they were paralyzed, utterly outmatched. From the observation deck, the human watched the stars beyond the viewport, as calm as if he were simply taking a walk. And in that stillness, a lesson was etched into every mind aboard that warship. Humanity's power lay not in the tools it wielded, but in the courage, ingenuity, and unpredictability of its people. When the delegation finally regrouped, the human had vanished. There was no trace, no debris, no sign of entry or exit. The only evidence was the failure of their advanced systems and the trembling bodies of those who had witnessed it. Valar sank to his knees, defeated in a way no battle could ever achieve. We cannot fight them," he whispered. "Not like this. Not ever." Above the warship, in the cold void of space, the human ship glided silently, untouched, unchallenged and unstoppable. The galaxy, vast as it was, had seen its first true demonstration. One human, alone, could topple the mightiest of fleets without firing a single shot, and the human walked on, leaving nothing behind but a single, unmistakable message for the aliens. Never forget the underestimated. The galaxy stirred with alarm. News of a single human dismantling fleets and infiltrating command centers spread faster than any transmission protocol could contain. Systems that had once been considered impenetrable now trembled at the mention of a lone human. The Xyrans, along with other allied species, convened a summit aboard the orbital citadel of Typhos, a station so vast it housed thousands of officers and billions of calculations per second. Yet even there, fear permeated the corridors. Holograms flickered with anxious reports. Every fleet commander present repeated the same question. How does one human achieve the impossible? They are everywhere and nowhere, muttered Admiral Killer, recalling the moon ambush. They strike like a storm, silent, precise, unstoppable. From orbit, the human watched. He had no fleet, no massive arsenal, yet every ship in the region quivered under his influence. The galaxy itself became a chessboard, and he moved unseen, untouchable. The hunt began. Alien fleets surged into the void, deploying sensors, drones, and automated kill zones designed to flush him out. Entire quadrants were sealed off. Energy. Barriers hummed in preparation, ready to incinerate anything that passed. Yet the human did not panic. He observed. He calculated. He waited. In the dead of space, between nebulae glowing purple and gold, the human executed his first counterstrike. Sensors detected strange phenomena, navigation grids collapsing, drones turned against their own fleets, and entire convoys rerouted into asteroid storms. Alien officers shouted over failing communications, but each attempt to locate him ended in confusion or disaster. One Xyran commander, desperate to catch even a glimpse, pursued the human into the Cerulean Rift, a dense cloud of charged plasma storms. The fleet's sensors failed almost immediately, communications jammed. Ships spun out of control as unseen forces emanating from the human's ship manipulated the plasma fields with uncanny precision. Engines overloaded, shields collapsed, explosions illuminated the rift, lighting up the void in jagged, terrifying flashes. From the observation deck, the human maneuvered effortlessly. His ship slipped between plasma currents as if dancing through fire, never touching a particle, never colliding with a single obstacle. Each alien ship that followed ended in ruin, drawn into the storm like moths to flame. By the time the first wave of fleets recovered, the human had vanished again, leaving behind only wreckage and terror. His movements were unpredictable, almost artistic, yet perfectly lethal. Every alien officer knew one fact: they were being hunted, and they did not even know where the hunt began or ended. Across the galaxy, whispers spread. Entire species who had once considered humans extinct now shuddered at the idea that one human could challenge the mightiest fleets. Scholars and strategists debated in fear and awe. How can a single being turn the entire galaxy into a battlefield? How can one mind outthink countless others simultaneously? Yet the human never celebrated. He did not speak, did not gloat, did not kill for pleasure. He acted as though he were delivering a lesson, one that stretched far beyond victory or defeat. He was teaching the galaxy something it had long forgotten. Humans were not measured by weapons, numbers, or strategy alone. They were measured by courage, by ingenuity, by the refusal to yield to fear. By the end of the hunt, entire fleets had been rendered ineffective. Command chains were broken, communications severed, and alien morale shattered. And still, the human floated silently among the stars, unbroken and untouchable. Back at Typhus Station, Admiral Killer finally admitted the truth. his voice trembling. "It is not strength that defeats us. It is understanding. One human understands far more than we can ever predict." The galaxy had learned the first terrifying truth of the human mind. It was limitless, unpredictable, and unstoppable. And the human, alone, silent, calm, was about to demonstrate the second, because in every corner of space, across every star system, one question now loomed larger than any weapon, any fleet, any alliance. If one human can do this alone, what could an entire species of humans accomplish? And in the endless darkness, a solitary figure glided forward, the stars themselves trembling in the wake of a human who walked alone. The alien command hub was a marvel of architecture. Towers of iridescent metal rising like jagged teeth, bathed in the green glow of energy conduits. It floated in orbit around a dying star, its surface crawling with defensive drones and automated turrets. To any other force, it would have seemed impregnable. To the human, it was simply a stage. No alarms sounded as he approached. No sensors detected him. Every system, every layer of defense, failed to comprehend his presence until it was too late. The human moved like a ghost through the docking fields, slipping between laser grids and patrol drones as if they were shadows in the night. Inside, the alien leaders convened in a circular chamber atop the hub, their eyes glued to strategic displays. Commander Valar, scarred and weary, demanded answers. "The human cannot be stopped. Tell me how it is possible." The reports came, fragmented and horrifying. Fleets immobilized in deep space storms, ships collapsing under their own systems. Entire sectors paralyzed by a force that was unseen and unstoppable. Panic had settled over the command hub like a suffocating fog. Then the lights flickered. The air shifted. And for the first time, the human appeared inside the chamber, not through doors, not through tunnels, but standing atop the floor as if he had materialized from nothing. Valar's claws trembled. "Impossible!" he yelled. Guards raised their weapons. But every beam of energy dissipated in midair as if struck by an invisible wall. The human's voice was calm, deliberate, and unflinching. "You have forgotten the first lesson," he said. "Humans are never defined by their numbers or their weapons. We are defined by our courage, our ingenuity, and our refusal to be afraid." One by one, alien defenses failed. Turrets misfired. Doors locked and unlocked in chaotic cycles, drones turned on their own operators. Chaos erupted in the command hub. The leaders scrambled, but it was futile. The human's presence alone rewrote the rules of engagement. Valar lunged, attempting a desperate attack with his energy blade. In a blink, the human sidestepped, his movement precise, almost mechanical, yet fluid and impossible to anticipate. The blade clanged harmlessly against the floor, and Valar stumbled backward, stunned not just by speed, but by the realization that he had been outmatched without a fight. The human did not strike. He did not need to. Every alien present felt the lesson in their bones. Dominance was not granted by power, but by intellect and resolve. By the time he left the chamber, the leaders were broken, not physically, but mentally. Their fleets scattered, their strategies dismantled before they could even act. Outside, in orbit, the remnants of the alien forces watched in terror. Their communications were cut, their fleet cohesion destroyed. The human ship glided through the void, unseen, untouchable, leaving a trail of confusion and fear that would ripple across star systems for years to come. In the aftermath, the galaxy began to understand the truth of humanity. Not one species, no matter how advanced or numerous, could anticipate the depth of a human mind. Not one could predict the strategies born of instinct, courage, and unrelenting creativity. The human had proven that the strongest weapon was not technology or numbers, it was the human spirit itself. Valar, battered and humiliated, sent a message to every fleet and command post. Never underestimate a human. It was a warning, but also an admission of helplessness. The galaxy had been reminded of an ancient truth it had long forgotten. Humans could not be controlled, could not be predicted, and could not be defeated. At least, not in the ways the galaxy had always imagined. The human, alone, continued his silent patrol through the stars. He did not gloat. He did not celebrate. He simply moved forward, a solitary figure in the endless darkness, leaving behind a galaxy that now understood the true meaning of fear and respect. And across every system, every fleet, every alien leader, one thought echoed relentlessly. If one human can achieve this alone, what could all of humanity do? The galaxy had grown restless. Entire sectors were on high alert. Alien fleets, once proud and unshakable, now drifted through the void like frightened shadows, every sensor ping and engine hum scrutinized for a sign of the human's return. They did not know where he would strike next, only that he would strike. In the dark expanse near the Androlon Rift, a cluster of alien cruisers patrolled cautiously. Their energy weapons glowed ominously, and automated drones swarmed the gaps between them. From the bridge of the largest vessel, Admiral Chris barked orders. "He cannot be anywhere and everywhere at once. He's only one." But the human was already there, moving silently among the ships. Sensors failed to detect him. Drones collided mid-flight. Weapon systems glitched unpredictably. The fleet's cohesion broke apart like sand slipping through fingers. Lights flickered, and alarms screamed over the panic of crews who realized too late that their enemy was not a fleet, not a weapon, not even a strategy, but a single mind, far beyond their comprehension. In one terrifying moment, the lead cruiser's engines overloaded. Hull plates warped, energy vents exploded, and the vessel spun uncontrollably into the rift. Its own weapons fired erratically, striking neighboring ships in a chain reaction. The void lit up in chaotic bursts of green and orange, an abstract painting of destruction. From the shadows of the rift, the human watched, calculating every motion, every variable, every weakness. He did not fire a single shot. He did not need to. The galaxy's deadliest armadas were crumbling under the weight of one human's ingenuity. Admiral Chris shouted, furious and terrified, "Seal the rift! Deploy the countermeasures!" But every action failed. Turrets misfired, shields collapsed, and communications broke down. Even the AI of the fleet began reporting impossible readings, as if reality itself had been rewritten in the human's presence. The human's ship moved with uncanny precision, slipping between debris and ion storms, the void bending subtly around him. He was a ghost in the galactic storm, untouchable, unstoppable. Yet he did not destroy recklessly. He orchestrated chaos with a masterful hand, showing the aliens that their strength meant nothing if they underestimated a single human. Through the rift, a lone fighter broke formation, attempting a desperate strike. It fired blindly, energy beams arcing through the void. The human sidestepped with impossible grace, letting the weapon pass harmlessly. In an instant, the fighter's own engines overloaded, exploding into shards of metal that scattered like glittering stars. Every alien pilot who witnessed it understood the truth. Human ingenuity was a weapon greater than any fleet. One mind could manipulate entire fleets, entire strategies, entire galaxies without firing a single conventional shot. Fear had become tangible, wrapping itself around every officer, every commander, every fleet in the sector. And yet the human did not. Pause. He moved on silently, leaving behind wreckage and chaos, but also a lesson that would echo for generations. Courage and intellect, when fused with resolve, could surpass even the most advanced technology. From the observation decks of the surviving cruisers, alien officers whispered in terror. How How can one human— Their words died as another cruiser collapsed under mysterious forces, systems failing without explanation. By the time the rift cleared, the fleet was shattered. Communications were fragmented, morale was destroyed, and through the void, the human glided onward, a solitary figure who had shown that no combination of numbers, technology, or aggression could match the human mind's adaptability. Admiral, Chris sank to his knees. This is not combat. This is a revelation. A human is not a threat like any we have faced before. It is an inevitability we cannot control. The galaxy, vast and endless, had been reminded once again. One human, alone, could topple empires, destroy fleets, and redefine the meaning of warfare. The human walked forward, not as conqueror, not as invader, but as the embodiment of a truth the galaxy had long forgotten. Underestimate humans at your peril, and through every star system, every fleet, every command post, the same thought took root, chilling and undeniable. If one human can do this alone, what could humanity do if it truly united? In the heart of the galaxy, the Alien Council convened. Their chamber, suspended above a swirling nebula, gleamed with crystalline spires and pulsating energy. Representatives from dozens of species had gathered, each one trembling with fear. Every screen displayed the same reality. One human was dismantling their fleets, destabilizing entire star systems, and eluding every trap. Commander Valar, scarred and enraged, slammed his clawed hand onto the council table. "We cannot contain this threat. Every plan fails. Every fleet is lost." Yet before another word could be spoken, the chamber's lights flickered violently. The air vibrated with an unnatural hum. And then, impossibly, the human appeared in the center of the council, a single figure standing calm amid panic, as if the laws of space itself bent around him. The council erupted in chaos. Guards fired, energy shields flared, but their weapons failed to register. Drones malfunctioned and collided. Screens went dark, and alarms screamed into silence. It was as if the human had stepped outside the very rules of the galaxy. His voice, calm and unwavering, cut through the panic. "You were warned. You were told to respect what you could not understand. And yet you persisted." One alien delegate, quivering with rage, attempted a strike with a plasma lance. The human sidestepped, effortlessly. The weapon shattered against the floor, and the alien stumbled, disarmed and humiliated. Others froze, unsure how to proceed. Their combined fleets, their numbers, their technology, all of it meant nothing in the presence of one human mind. The human did not speak again for long minutes. He simply stood, observing, letting the chaos unfold. And in that silence, the council understood something terrifying. This was not a battle that could be won through force. This was a lesson being taught by a species that had always been underestimated. He moved toward the central holographic table, pointing at star systems marked with alien fleets. "You relied on fear, on overwhelming numbers, on deception, and yet you failed. All because you ignored the simplest truth. Humans do not yield. Humans adapt. Humans endure." As he spoke, the chamber's systems began to unravel. Energy conduits sparked, shields collapsed, and holograms flickered erratically. One by one, delegates lost control of their devices. Ships outside drifted, helplessly, caught in gravitational anomalies that seemed to originate from nowhere. The human's influence reached far beyond the chamber itself. It spread like a storm across the galaxy, invisible but undeniable. Valar, desperate, charged at him. The human did not strike back. He simply shifted aside with uncanny precision. Valar crashed into the council dais, stunned. And in that instant, every delegate felt the same fear. The human was not just a threat. They were an entirely new force in the galaxy, rewriting the rules of power. By the time the human stepped back, the council was shattered, not physically, but mentally. Orders were lost, strategies collapsed. Fear took root in every mind, and with it, a realization that no alliance could withstand the ingenuity of a human. The council's authority, once absolute, had been rendered meaningless. Outside, fleets in orbit witnessed the collapse. Ships idled helplessly. Pilots hesitated, unsure of what to do next. Entire species whispered the same thing in dread. We cannot predict them. We cannot stop them. One human has undone all we have built. The human left the chamber as silently as he had entered, drifting through the void. Behind him, the galaxy felt smaller, more fragile, and more aware than ever before. He did not gloat. He did not boast. He merely walked, alone, leaving an undeniable mark. A single human had reminded the universe of a truth that no species could ignore. Humans were not merely survivors. Humans were not merely clever. Humans were unstoppable when pushed to their limits. And across the stars, one thought spread faster than any fleet, any signal, any weapon. If one human can do this alone, what could humanity achieve if it truly awakened? The council was broken. The fleets were scattered, and the galaxy was left trembling at the silent, unshakable figure who walked alone through the stars. The remnants of the alien fleets had fled, scattered across the void, unable to regroup or even communicate effectively. Star systems that had once burned with the alien presence now lay eerily quiet, punctuated only by drifting wreckage and dying signals. Yet in the silence, a new awareness pulsed. The human had proven that the galaxy was not theirs to dominate. Alone, the human glided through the wreckage fields, his ship cutting a narrow path through the remnants of fleets, meteoroids, and orbital debris. The void was alive with faint energy discharges, remnants of failed weapons and collapsing engines, yet he moved through it as if the universe itself bent around him. He did not seek glory, he sought understanding. In a distant sector, a planet's surveillance picked up his signature. Alien colonies, desperate and panicked, tried to mount defenses. Ships scrambled, automated turrets fired blindly, and yet nothing reached him. Every system he approached seemed to falter, every plan the aliens devised crumbling before it could take shape. It was not brute force that made him unstoppable. It was foresight, intuition, and an unshakable confidence in his own abilities. He paused in orbit around a dying star, the glow reflecting off his ship like molten silver. He accessed a galaxy-wide network, sending a single, undeniable message to every remaining alien command center. Humans walk alone, yet they define the course of all who stand in their path. Underestimate us at your peril. The words spread instantly, carried faster than any fleet, any warship, any drone. Across sectors, alien leaders paused, their plans collapsing under the weight of a reality they could not counter. Fear became knowledge. Panic became respect. Chaos became clarity. Humans were not merely another species. They were an event, an unstoppable force, and a lesson the galaxy could not ignore. On a ruined command station orbiting a shattered moon, Commander Valar looked out at the void, trembling. All this destroyed by one human alone, he whispered, disbelief and fear lacing his voice. The answer was clear. Yes. One human had undone everything the galaxy had believed unassailable. One human had rewritten history. And yet the human did not celebrate. He did not linger to watch their despair. Instead, he turned toward the stars still unexplored, the challenges still unresolved, the mysteries still unclaimed. He was a solitary traveler, carrying with him a quiet but unyielding truth. Humanity's strength was not in weapons or fleets, but in creativity, resilience, and the courage to face impossible odds alone. In the following cycles, the galaxy began to change. Formerly aggressive species reconsidered their strategies. Fleets were rebuilt with caution. Alliances were forged not out of ambition, but out of necessity. Every alien leader understood the same unspoken principle. Humans could not be predicted. Humans could not be controlled. And humans, above all, could not be ignored. As he drifted through an uncharted nebula, the human reflected silently, his ship gliding past clouds of gas and fragments of stars, like a brushstroke on the canvas of the universe. He had fought not for conquest, not for recognition, but to demonstrate a truth long forgotten by the galaxy, that humanity, when pushed to the edge, is unstoppable, and in that quiet solitude, a single moral echoed across the stars. Never underestimate the strength of one human, for even alone, they can reshape entire galaxies. Far beyond the reach of any fleet or command center, he continued walking, alone, unyielding, and unmatched. The galaxy would remember, the galaxy would fear, and most importantly, the galaxy would respect. In the endless darkness, one figure moved steadily forward, a human walking alone, leaving behind a universe forever changed by the lesson of his singular, unstoppable presence. The stars themselves seemed to whisper the truth. Humanity is not to be trifled with. Humanity is to be revered. And somewhere in the cold vastness of space, a single thought crystallized across every species and system. If one human can achieve this alone, imagine what humanity could do together. The human walked on, alone, yes, but never powerless.